Alright, so the Eagles just got exactly the news that they needed today, as it seems like multiple injured stars could make their return this week against the Vikings, and in turn give the Birds a major boost. Meanwhile, it seems like the Eagles could employ some new plans for Jihaad Campbell and Nakobe Dean, while changes being made at the cornerback position, and Saquon Barkley, among others, seems to think that the offense is finally about to get on track. So let's talk about that and all the other latest news starting right now. So let's start this off with an important update from defensive coordinator Vic Fangio regarding the cornerback position, as of course that's easily one of the biggest areas of concern for this team and for this defense right now, especially after their last game against the Giants, where of course Quinyon Mitchell got injured and both Adoree Jackson and especially Kelee Ringo really struggled in that one. So obviously now going into a matchup with the Minnesota Vikings and their extremely talented group of receivers, the Birds are going to need these guys to be better. And we'll get to Quinyon Mitchell and his injury status a little bit later, but in regards to the spot opposite of him moving forward this season, it seems like the Eagles are set to make a change there, as after starting Kelee Ringo at cornerback number 2 the past 3 games, Vic Fangio seems to have seen enough.
Well, we've got to settle in and find somebody out there that we can rely on. And I think we have the guys that can do that. We just got to get them playing better.
Why do you think Kelee struggled against the Giants? What did you see?
He just got beat, down the field.
And with that in-game change, either of them, which are you going with at this point, Adoree or Kelee?
Right now probably would be Adoree, the way we were going to do it in the game. And then when Q went down, we played them both.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I'm super surprised. Like, I've been trying to be positive on Kelee Ringo, but the fact of the matter is, he was really, really bad against the Giants, and while Jackson wasn't that much better, and he's also had some absolutely horrible moments this season as well, I could see why maybe they want to go back to him, but, I don't know. Either way, that cornerback position is a huge question mark, especially going into this matchup with the Vikings team that, sure, hasn't put up insane numbers throwing the ball this season, but does have one of the most talented receiving cores in the entire league. And in regards to that cornerback spot and just the weaknesses on the Eagles defense in general, we now have another report, this one from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, saying that the Eagles could be in the market to add somebody at the trade deadline. As he said, quote, "The Eagles are lurking in the trade market as always. People I've talked to around the league believe cornerback or edge rusher or both could be a focus at the deadline. Keep in mind that Philly has already made several trades, acquiring corner Jacorian Bennett, wide receiver John Mechie III, and running back Tank Bigsby, and those moves haven't paid off yet." So yeah, again, as I talked about in my last video, it's no surprise that the Eagles are expected to be active at the trade deadline, possibly at the corner and edge rusher positions, but I also think he makes an important point. I mean, the moves that the Eagles have already made have not worked out so far, and that's not to say that a move that they make in the future couldn't work out, but again, it's an important point. And also, if you look back at Howie Roseman's recent history of making trades at the deadline, it's also not great. I mean, just think back to Kevin Byard in 2023 or Robert Quinn in 2022. Like, neither of those worked out. But again, that's not to say that they couldn't work out this year if they were to make a move. But again, it's definitely going to be tough. I mean, in my last video, I talked about a bunch of potential options that the Eagles could look to trade for an edge rusher, but there's no guarantee that those players are even available, that the Eagles could actually trade for them, or that a move to Philly would even work out. Like, again, it's tough, but very interestingly, the Birds also do potentially have another option to fill the needed edge without making a trade, that being to move Jihaad Campbell out on the edge for more plays, while then having linebacker Nakobe Dean take over on the inside next to Zach Bond when he's fully healthy and ready. And yes, I understand I'm late to talk about this, but it is an interesting possibility, and one that not only could make a lot of sense, but also one that the Eagles seem very open to.
A little forth, is it possible Jihaad could get some edge snaps?
It's possible. He's been getting edge snaps, in certain ways we align.
What do you think as far as Nakobe?
I'd start again.
Nakobe, as far as potentially, does that, if he's healthy, if he's ready to go, does that make it a little bit easier to give Jihaad and even Zach some snaps on the edge?
It does.
This is a really tough one for me because, on one hand, Jihaad Campbell is playing really, really well at inside linebacker, and he has all season long, so it's like you don't really want to mess with what's been working, but at the same time, you have Jihaad Campbell for 4 years, including this one, and chances are you probably only have Nakobe Dean for the rest of this season, unless, of course, they re-sign him, but, who knows how that's going to go. And if he's healthy and fully capable of playing at a high level, you would hate to waste that time with him and not play him at inside linebacker, especially since last year, he was fantastic for this Eagles defense and put up almost 130 tackles. Meanwhile, again, you have a needed edge rusher, and Jihaad Campbell is very capable of playing that position. I mean, he did in college at times. So far in the NFL, he's done it 23 times and gotten pressures on 6 of those rushes and has a pass rush win rate of 28.6%. So, obviously, that's a very small sample size, but he's been really good when used in that way. And as Ross Tucker said on WIP, he has all the physical tools to be great rushing the passer.
I understand why everybody wants him to add an edge guy. The point I would make is more than likely any edge guy that they sign, right? That guy is going to be basically a guy like Josh Uche or Azeez Ojulari with a different name. I think personally, Joe, the better answer is your second answer, your second possible solution. I love the idea when Nakobe Dean is back in the mix in getting Jihaad Campbell into the rotation off the edge. He was a 5-star recruit as an edge rusher. He did it his freshman year at Alabama. I know, okay, that he moved to off-ball linebacker the last couple years. Guess who else moved to off-ball linebacker for a couple years in college? Micah Parsons. But he never lost what he had in high school at Harrisburg High. He never lost, and when they did it in the NFL, he was fantastic. I would love to see the Eagles start to increase the usage of Campbell off the edge. He has that type of athleticism. He can do it. And especially if Nakobe's ready to roll, there are going to be opportunities where they can utilize him in that role.
I don't know. I still think it's a tough call, but I would be interested to see what Jihaad Campbell could do given more snaps rushing the passer out on the edge. And I'm also curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this and what you think the Eagles should do. So give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Moving on, though, and getting back to the cornerback position, the Eagles got exactly the news that they needed on Wednesday, as Quinyon Mitchell, who of course suffered a hamstring injury in the game against the Giants, was out there at practice in preparation for the game against the Vikings on Sunday. And, I don't got to say too much about it, but obviously that's absolutely huge. I mean, Q is one of the very best corners in the game. He's been locked down throughout his career. And again, we saw the struggles of both Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson, not just last Thursday, but really throughout the entire season. And with the tough matchup coming up against Justin Jefferson and the Vikings' talented wide receiver room, getting Q back is going to be crucial. Now, at this point in the week, we still don't know if he's actually going to play or not, but the fact that he was out there at practice to begin the week, at least in some capacity, is definitely a very good sign. As is the news that Jalen Carter was also at practice on Wednesday, as of course he missed the Giants game with a surprise heel injury, and that dramatically affected the Birds' defense in that game, even more so than Q's absence. So, getting him back is going to be crucial to the Eagles' defensive success. And the fact that he was out there to begin the week, again, is definitely a very positive sign. And I guess it's also a positive sign that left guard Landon Dickerson was out there as well, as he, of course, went down in the Broncos game with an ankle injury. He missed the Giants game last week, and it was said that he could miss even more time than that, but in typical Landon fashion, he's toughing it out, he's already back out there, and it seems there's a chance he could be closing in on a return. However, this situation is just a little bit more complicated for me just because, as I've talked about in previous videos, Landon has clearly not been himself all season long because of the knee injury that he picked up back during training camp. And honestly, I thought it would be a good thing for Landon to sit out as long as possible and potentially finally get healthy, or at least healthier than he was. So, on one hand, I guess it's a good sign that he's back out there at practice, but also, I kind of want him to sit out for a little bit longer so he can heal up just a little bit more. But at the end of the day, if you know who Landon Dickerson is, then he was always going to try and come back as fast as possible. So it's really no surprise. And in regards to him, Carter, Q, and also Grant Calcaterra, who was seen working off to the side with trainers during practice, We'll continue to monitor their status throughout the week. Moving on though, the Eagles also did make some roster moves on Wednesday, specifically in regards to the practice squad, as they added tight end Jaheim Bell and defensive end Titus Leo, so, no CJ Gardner-Johnson signing at this time. Again, I don't really think that that's super likely, but again, we'll continue to monitor that situation. And we'll also continue to monitor the offense to see if they can get their issues fixed and finally get on track, whether that's in regards to the running game, the offensive line, the play calling. Again, just so much has to improve there. And while as fans, I think there are definitely a lot of reasons to be skeptical, I at least think it's a positive sign that players like Jordan Mailata and Saquon Barkley seem to think that they're very close to getting things figured out.
We're super close. I think I say it every week on my show. In the run game, we're always one block away. But the beautiful thing I think it's a beautiful thing. You can have an outstanding performance at one position on the O-line, but for a truly whole game to be played, we call it the 5-wheel drive. You need all 5 guys on the same page, and there are a couple plays there where we are, a couple plays where we're not, one guy off. Like I said, kind of similar towards the question that I just answered, just because of the guys that we have in the room, our coach, one of the best in the league. The body of work that we put in, we know we can make the corrections, and we know we're gonna, try and again strive for that greatness, strive to keep that standard high at all times. So just something that we got to correct every day and be willing to correct. And I feel like we do have the right guys in the room there to get that job done.
Kevin Patullo said that you guys all met as an offense and everybody's communicating, and this bye week can be as helpful as last year. How much did it mean to you and the offense, everybody getting together and communicating your ideas and trying to get the offense going here?
I think it's super important. Lost 2 in a row, but at the end of the day, 4-2 in a good spot right now. Just got to continue to get better. And I love, the conversation that we have. I love where the mindset that we're going to. But at the end of the day, we got to go out there and execute it. And, it's going to come down to tough, detail, and together. And that's the mindset that we're going to continue to have.
And you hope to find that offensive identity that you had last year, or whatever that identity is?
I don't want to give too much scouting information in Minnesota, but we look forward to getting right out there and getting things back on track.
So yeah, again, definitely good to hear the guys being positive. Saquon's comments in particular actually stood out to me because he made it sound like they maybe made some changes or breakthroughs with the offense that could finally get things going in the right direction. And I don't know, he seems to be pretty happy and optimistic going into this game, so who knows, maybe they got the run game figured out just a little bit, and Barkley finally is able to have his first big performance of the season in this game against the Vikings. But at the end of the day, that's just speculation. We really don't know. And again, we'll just have to wait and see how it looks starting this Sunday against the Vikings. And again, I think us fans do have a lot of reasons to be skeptical right now. I've seen a lot of people compare this team to the 2023 team, and I think that's valid, but as for the guys in the building, they just continue to reiterate that this team is not like that team, and things are going to be different.
Just being there in 23 and hearing the detail that's being coached, being at the practices, that the detail, even in the drills, when they coach the drills, the detail, that's the difference. Detail wasn't there in 23, and I'll happily say that.
Okay.
I'll be honest there. The detail was not there, the technique was not there in 23, and now it is. So I can't relate the two. We're not running the ball well.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, we need to establish the run game up front, and it starts with the O-line, and that's our main goal this week.
How do we know that this 2-game slide isn't the 2023 slide?
How do you know it's not the 24 slide? Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're doing everything we can do to fix it and to get better.
Again, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, but I definitely love all the optimism. And you guys know that I'm going to be continuing to cover all the Eagles news that comes out throughout this week in the lead up to the game against the Vikings, just as well as all the other Eagles news that comes out throughout the entire season. So if you don't want to miss anything, make sure you subscribe and you turn on notifications, and also drop a like down below because it really does help me out a ton, guys. Let's see if we can get to at least 500 likes on today's video. That would be greatly appreciated. And also hit the hype button because that helps me out a ton as well. And leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you do want to watch another video going over some stuff from earlier in the week, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.